Around 1910, an expedition led by Professor George Edward Challenger found a high plateau in South America with an extraordinary wildlife, something that hadn't been seen in 65 million years. Now, the expedition was chronicled by a journalist, Edward Malone, and there was a fictionalized account by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle a couple of years later. What I have found is that on a high plateau in Gothenburg, the same extraordinary wildlife can be found. So, in just a few minutes, I'm going to try to photograph them, and it's not without danger. So we'll see if I'll make it.
Okay, I admit it. I may have exaggerated just a teeny tiny little bit. What I'm really about to do is toy photography. I'm going to shoot plastic dinosaur toys. I'm shooting with a full format camera and a 100mm macro lens. But you can actually do this with nearly any camera. And a camera phone is excellent for this type of photography. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's novel The Lost World was obviously a main inspiration for this photo shoot. But I also drew inspiration from Jurassic Park, of course, and from Ray Harryhausen's work with the stop motion animation. If you look at this picture, you may notice that very there are very thin black borders above and below the image. That's because the image is in format 1.85 to 1, the same aspect ratio that was used for Jurassic Park. Um, when it comes to toning, then I used a film emulation that is reminiscent of film in the 1950s. So I tried to get a few hints into the picture of where the inspiration comes from. I shot at sunset when the sun was very low in the sky, and that gave me deep shadow and an evening orange light that I wanted. Uh, I did I didn't use any flashes or artificial lighting for this shoot, which is a bit unusual for me. One problem I have, and that I know I share with many other photographers, is that I can easily get locked in, and so I shoot from just a single angle with only very minor variations. And this is bad. When you do a photo shoot, whether it's dinosaurs or a portrait shoot or whatever, you really want to get a great variety of shots that increases the probability that you will get a few good shots out of the shoot. It's conscious effort for me to break out of it and change the perspective. It's a good habit to get to whatever kind of photography you're doing. Try walking around what you're what you want to photograph, so you see it from different angles. And of course, when you do macro photography like this, you need to get down low to see what's really going on. Well, unfortunately, not every shot is a success. I really don't like this one. I thought it was a good idea when I set it up, but as soon as I looked at it when I came home, no, no, doesn't quite work. When I came home, I wasn't quite happy with the pictures I had, so I decided to try again. A couple of days later, I found a different location and took a different approach to shooting. I decided to really go for it. So I brought hot shoe flashes, spray mist, and my tripod and a remote control. So I could set this up like a more professional shoot. The remote control was necessary because I couldn't push the camera button and spray the mist at the same time. This was much better. Uh, the picture didn't look like this straight out of the camera, of course. I did some pretty hefty post-processing. I had bought a toy car because I wanted to link the dinosaurs to humans. Dinosaurs are fun, but the Lost World genre is even more fun. And with the car, I could link the dinosaurs to movies like the Jurassic Park movies and the Lost World movies, but also to TV series like Primeval. I took care to vary my shots a bit so it wouldn't all look the same. This is the shot where I think the mist worked best. Taken together, these shots tell not exactly a story, but part of a story. Um, I just might finish and add a resolution to the fight between the Ankylosaurus and the T-Rex eventually, but not right now. At this point, I decided to change the setup completely and shoot dinosaurs in shallow water instead. So I moved everything and set up the camera and the lights. That was the final picture of the day. I was pretty happy with the second day shoot, actually. Now, one thing that I couldn't do was to have humans in the pictures. I was looking for human figures in the toy store, but I couldn't find any at the right scale, so I had to omit them for this shoot. There are other techniques that I can use to put people in the pictures, ranging from using 3D models to using live models. But for this shoot, I stuck to just toys. Let's have a look at how I edited these pictures. You should know that the editing process wasn't as straightforward as it looks here. I experimented a lot before I uh, decided to use this particular process. So I did maybe a dozen different variations with different looks for the pictures before I settled on this. So when I shot the pictures, I used color gels to warm up the light from the flashes, and that's why we have a strong orange cast here. The original idea was to make this look like a sunset, and I also had the idea that if I use the lights to warm up the picture in the foreground, then if I reduced the color cast and reduced the orange, then I would get a blue color cast for everything that was further away in the picture. Now, in the end, I didn't do this, but that was the original idea. Now, when I started editing, the first thing I wanted to do was to separate the foreground and the background, because that enables me to work on the background without disturbing the foreground. And especially when you do things like adding blur, then you need to separate the foreground and the background. And what you need to do is to clone out the foreground elements in the background layer. Because if you don't, when you blur this, everything in the foreground will get a blurry outline because you blur the corresponding parts of the picture in the background. But by cloning it out, I can blur all I want and it won't show through. There won't be a halo on the foreground elements. So I did a bit of cloning. I then added fog elements. I didn't have much fog in the original picture, so I added fog elements, and I also darkened the picture a bit because I wanted more contrast between the foreground and the background. And then, as I mentioned, I could add a little bit extra blur. Uh, when then I added back the foreground, and if you look here, if I turn off the darkening, you can see the difference that it makes. So, well, the next step was to add a bit more fog to the foreground. One thing you see here is that the foreground has a different color tone than the background, so I added a toning layer to the foreground too. And at this point, I was pretty happy with the basic editing. What I did after this was that I added a filter from the DxO Lab film pack, and I used the filter called Nostalgia. Nostalgia emulates a 50s film look. I did some modifications to that. I increased the grain a bit, and that gave it pretty good look. All I did after that was add a bit of vignette, and I was done. And I did pretty much the same process for all of the pictures I shot the second day. I didn't do anything more with the pictures from the first day because I considered them fairly hopeless. But the second day pictures I gave a coherent look like this.
You know what? This was fun. And, well, I think we can call it a day. So, be seeing you.